All right, Marty Hughes, welcome. Marty is with Louise and the kids down at Glenorchy. Now, you moved down to Glenorchy, which is just a suburb of Hobart, of Tassie, as if that's a suburb. Sorry to all the Tasmanians here. You moved just before COVID hit.
Yep.
Talk to us about Glenorchy and what your journey's been like there.
Yeah, so Glenorchy is part of Hobart and in the northern suburbs of Hobart. And when you go there, it is just beautiful. Glenorchy's flanked by the Derwent River and the mountain, Mount Wellington, and it just sits between the two. It's really lovely there. It's also a bit of a hub. Like there's 500,000 people in Tassie, but 46,000 of them are in the Glenorchy city area, right? So it's quite a large hub. Yeah. And one thing about the Glenorchy area is it's quite marginalised. There's a lot of people uneducated, unemployed. There's a lot of problems associated with that. We have an index in Australia called the IRSA, the Index of Relative Socio-Economic, yada yada, whatever. And it's colour-coded, and blue is like quite well off, and red is like impoverished, and the whole of the northern suburbs is dark red. So it's like a significant thing about the area, yeah.
So as I said, you, Louise and the kids, you moved down there. Tell us why. You were living in Sydney. You moved down to Glenorchy. You didn't know COVID was going to hit. That was just a nice curveball. But what is it that drew you down there?
Yeah, we got a phone call from a friend who lived in Tassie. We went to Bible college together, and he had said, why don't you think about it? Like, it's an area that is in need of a church. There weren't a lot of churches in the area. There are churches in the area, but there weren't heaps. And so it was an area that needed a church or a church plant. I'd also at the time been reading this book by a guy called Mes McConnell called Church in Hard Places. And I don't really like the title, but man, the book is really, really powerful. And it speaks to sharing the gospel that people have traditionally missed along the way. So between the challenge and seeing the need, I think Sydney University had a tagline like less reached, less resourced. It's about all I learnt at uni. So when I was on the dole, I thought I might go and plant a church in a hard area, but no. But yeah, so it did feel like an area that was less reached and less resourced. That's why we went down.
And it hasn't been easy. The last few years haven't been for anyone, and it hasn't been easy for you guys down in Glenorchy. But can you tell us some of the ways in which you've seen God working over the last few years?
Yeah, so we decided, rightly or wrongly, to parachute into Glenorchy with my wife and I, 3 kids, and a couple who joined us from EV Church. So we thought that was going to be plenty enough. And we were just going to kind of winsomely tell people to come and join us, and we'd get that like launch team of 100 and we'd be fine. But this thing was coming out of China that was looking like that might not happen, and we found that kind of we spoke to a lot of people in Tassie and on the mainland about coming to join us, but no one could come and travel, and Tassie people were just like, we don't know anything about you. Like, why would we join you? You know, like, so it was actually really difficult to build a team, and yet. We launched last year. There was about 30 of us together. I just think God is so good that happened. So we've seen God working in that way. We found heaps of, like as a family, we've had quite a few difficulties in the last couple of years. But the way that God worked so powerfully for us was we've had so much support. So we came from a church in Sydney who have just been so supportive of us, not only financially, but often small midweek groups will ring us up and do a Bible study with us and ask us to share about what's going on. And that's been it's like therapy for me, right? Like, but also maybe hopefully helpful for the groups that do that. I don't know if Dave Mears knows he's been pastoring our church, but he was my pastor in Sydney, and I keep ringing him up asking questions, you know, like, what would you do here? And so, like, just that sort of support's been really, really good. But not only from our local church, from our home church, but Reach and Geneva have been super. This is not a plug, by the way, but they have been really, really supportive. Because church planning has been difficult, and so we feel really supported by FIAC, which is our independent, who we've kind of come under the fellowship of, and Geneva and Reach. Yeah.
Tell us about someone who's become a Christian.
Yeah. Well, we had a monthly mission in December, and one of our goals was to hand out 500 show bags with our name on it, with some things inside it, of course. And a church in Sydney had missed out because of COVID on a mission event they were doing, and they had 500 of those Gospel of Marks, the alabaster ones, which are really beautiful looking. So we put them in, and we had some of these lollies and details about our church. And we went to the local supermarket, and you're not allowed to step outside of this zone. You hire a zone for a while, and you can't go within like one step away from it. So we've got these 500 show bags, and we can kind of take one step out. But all we did was, the whole church got together, and we did it in shifts. And we would just say, we're a new church in Glenorchy. Here's some information. Would you like some? And we got rid, all 500 went. And from that, there was a woman and her daughter who came, and they said, you got a church. We've just moved into the area. We'd like to consider that. And she was about to get married to a Tasmanian. So the three of them came along. Sorry, she just got married, and the three of them came along. The first thing he did when he got to the first week was he picked up a Bible and he said, how much is this? I said, $20, mate. And he took. We gave him the Bible, and yeah. And I think the way we describe it, he came and did a Christianity Explored type of thing that we did, and he became a Christian just a few weeks back. And if it were not for COVID, it's awesome, yeah. He missed his own baptism because of COVID, but we just dunked someone else. It was all right, yeah.
These are not endorsed comments, these ones.
But actually their family coming together has been amazing. It's been really great because all three of them have been growing in the Lord as a result. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, very quickly, mate. 10 years time, where do you pray and hope you'll be?
Yeah, it's interesting to say that because just recently we've come up here and we've been talking about maybe in 10 years planting about 20 minutes up the road. Glenorchy is gentrifying, and a lot of people are buying up houses in the area, and that's pushing people onto the streets and further north up the river. And in a sense, we kind of want to chase that as well because I think we really feel passionate about sharing the gospel with that community. So we've been thinking about what would it look like to plant a church in 10 years up there, and we're just now starting to work backwards about what that would look like. So our prayer is that, I don't know. I feel like first day at the gym and you're like, I want to lift 100 kilos if that's okay. And the PT's like, yeah, no worries. Like, what? But we've got to protect ourselves and grow ourselves and mature ourselves. But at the same time, we want to also think, and I think it actually might be helpful for us to think, what would it look like to do this again in 10 years up the river? So that's probably our biggest prayer for 10 years.
Great.